Hello, friends. I'm coming to you a little sideways for a reason. As you can see, it's been snowing. You might not be able to tell on the camera with the reflection off the snow that let me do my best weather girl imitation. Right about here, there's a deer lying down. And I wanted to keep the door shut until until I was ready, because maybe you'll be able to see it move. If during the program you see something move back there, it's just a friendly deer. There we go. Now I'm outside. So one could say it's a dear friend joining us today. Ha ha ha. Oh, yes. Let's see if he peeks out. Or she. It's a doe. Oh, so it is snowing today. As many of you noticed previous days, lately it's been also raining. And I was contemplating that this morning. Rain and snow are basically the same thing. We could say from a chemical point of view, they are H2O, water, but in different forms. Water is always around us. Sometimes it's not visible, but it's in the air in the form of humidity, or it becomes visible as rain, or it becomes more visible as snow. But inherently, it's the same thing. I'm mentioning this today because this is January 11th. 11 is an auspicious sacred number for Lord Shiva. Okay. And Shiva represents consciousness. What Krishna is trying to teach Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita is consciousness is everywhere, and it might look different, but it's essentially the same. So today the water looks like snow. Yesterday it looked like rain. Same thing, water, just a different appearance based on circumstance. And Krishna is trying to drive this point home to Arjuna. Hey, there's the deer. Nice. And it's very evident in the stories of the Mahabharata leading up to the Bhagavad Gita. In a previous video, I mentioned that chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita is narrated by by King Dhritarashtra, who represents our ego. And he is always trying to divide things. The first verse, Dharmek Kshetre Kuru Kshetre, etc., in Sanskrit, is basically on this field of our destiny, on this field of our ancestral wars, my sons and nephews come to fight. What are they doing, Samjay? And if you remember, up until a few years ago, he would never have said, my sons and my brother's sons, or my sons and my nephews. He had adopted his orphan nephews and considered them his sons. But then something went awry, and now the ego has split the family. These are my sons, really, and these are somebody else's sons. Krishna has done his best to reunite these two sides of the family. He was the messenger of peace right before this war, going between the cousins and saying, look, how can we live in harmony? And that is the underlying message. How can we recognize that for them, that they're the same family, they're the same blood, they have the same history, they're the same? How can we recognize that? The 11th of any month is a great day to do that. So how can I remember as I'm sitting out here, snow, same as rain, deer, same as me, tree, same as me. There's that underlying consciousness. If we really grasp this, then many of the principles of the Gita come naturally. Many of the principles of yoga that we learn about, like ahimsa and satya, nonviolence and truth, because essentially everything's the same. If we're lying, we're not lying to somebody else, we're lying to ourselves. If we're violent, we're not violent to something else, we're violent to ourselves. Oh, we'll remember that today. We can also, we'll apply it to quantum physics another day, because I think it's just wonderful to be present with this idea. For the meditation, if you are thinking, how do I keep rooting my attention in this awareness, this underlying sameness, which is kind of where the word samatvam comes from, the theme of this whole year, samat, the same, and tvam, essentially. We're essentially the same in every situation, and everything in the world is essentially, at its core, the same. If you need help remembering that, as we often do, there's a powerful mantra that's also very short, and it is said to reconnect us to consciousness. This is Shivji. He is personified so that we can relate to him as embodied beings, but he is pure consciousness. And a mantra for him is Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. When we get to the meditation, or even during your asana, I invite you to remember that mantra as best you can. If you remember another mantra, it's okay, because you know what? Even mantras at their core are essentially the same. You can use something from your own tradition. Amen, Kyrie eleison, Shalom, Om Mani Padme Hum. The possibilities of appearance are infinite. The reality is one. Let's begin. And switch sides. Preparing for the meditative practice of about 5 minutes, remember the mantra you can use if you wish, Om Namah Shivaya, or one of your choice that anchors you to the moment. coming back. The time always seems to go so quickly. Thank you for being part of this today. Some of you have asked me if I get cold out here, and one of the things I was considering today is I am the cold. Now, it's not something I fight anymore, and it's a different experience. I would love to honor and dedicate this practice this morning to Sue, who is one of the greatest yoga students and hence one of the greatest yoga teachers I know. Thank you so much for being part of my life. Thank you all. Thank you to the deer who's still pleasantly resting. Have a wonderful day and see you in some form tomorrow.